A simple janitor fixed the CEO's billion-dollar crisis in seconds. What happened next shocked everyone in that Manhattan boardroom. Sarah Martinez was just doing her job when she stumbled upon something that would change everything. This isn't just about money. It's about recognizing talent where you least expect it. The fluorescent lights hummed softly as Sarah Martinez pushed her cleaning cart down the marble hallway of Sterling Financial Group's 42nd floor. At 32, she'd been working the night shift for 3 years, invisible to the suits who ruled these gleaming towers during daylight hours. Just another Tuesday night, she whispered to herself, adjusting her blue maintenance apron over her gray polo shirt. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a practical bun, nothing fancy, just functional. That's how Sarah approached everything in her life these days. Most people saw a janitor. They didn't see the mathematics degree hanging in her tiny Brooklyn apartment, gathering dust alongside dreams she'd tucked away when life got complicated. After her father's medical bills and her mother's struggles, Sarah had taken the first steady job she could find. 3 years later, she was still here, wiping down conference tables and emptying trash cans filled with discarded million-dollar decisions. But Sarah had a secret. She understood every number, every calculation, every financial model that these executives scribbled on whiteboards and left behind. During her rounds, she'd catch glimpses of their work, complex derivatives, risk assessments, merger projections. Her mathematical mind couldn't help but analyze what she saw. Tonight felt different, though. There was an electric tension in the air like the moments before a thunderstorm. She'd noticed it in the hurried conversations, the emergency meetings that ran past midnight, the worried faces behind glass doors. Sterling Financial was in trouble. Sarah had pieced it together over the past week. Fragments of overheard phone calls, discarded reports in waste baskets, the increasingly frantic energy that pulsed through these halls. The company that employed 2,000 people, that managed billions in assets, was facing something catastrophic. As she approached the executive boardroom, Sarah could hear voices. Tense, urgent voices that spoke of losses and liability, of shareholders and scandals. She paused outside the door, her cleaning supplies forgotten for a moment. Inside that room, Victoria Sterling, the iron-willed CEO who'd built this empire from nothing, was fighting the battle of her career. Sarah had seen her before, striding through these halls in her perfectly tailored suits, commanding respect with every step. But tonight, even from the hallway, Sarah could sense the desperation. She knocked gently on the door frame. "Excuse me, just need to empty the trash and clean the boards." The voices stopped. Sarah's heart pounded as she waited for permission to enter the room where her company's fate was being decided. She had no idea that in the next few minutes, her life was about to change forever. "Come in. Quickly!" Victoria Sterling's voice cut through the silence like a blade. Sarah pushed open the heavy door and stepped into the boardroom, where her destiny waited. The scene before her was chaos. Dressed in expensive suits, Victoria Sterling stood at the head of a polished mahogany table, her dark business suit wrinkled from hours of stress. Her hair, usually immaculate, showed signs of being run through with anxious fingers. Around the table sat 5 other executives, their faces pale under the harsh fluorescent lighting. But it was the massive whiteboard behind Victoria that captured Sarah's attention. Numbers covered every inch, calculations, projections, formulas that told the story of a company on the brink of collapse. The yellow arrow, pointing to a declining graph, seemed to mock everyone in the room. "We're hemorrhaging money," Victoria was saying, her voice hoarse from hours of crisis management. "The Meridian deal has gone sideways. Our exposure is $1.2 billion. If we can't find a solution by market open tomorrow, Sterling Financial is finished." Sarah quietly began emptying wastebaskets, trying to remain invisible while her mathematical mind automatically processed the numbers on the board. She had heard whispers about the Meridian acquisition, a complex merger with a tech company that was supposed to revolutionize Sterling's portfolio. "The risk calculations were solid when we ran them 6 months ago," said Robert Mitchell, the chief financial officer, loosening his tie in defeat. "How did we miss this?" "We didn't miss it," Victoria snapped, pointing at the board. "The market shifted. Meridian's patents turned out to be worthless. Their debt was hidden in offshore accounts. We're looking at the biggest financial disaster in the company's history." Sarah's hands moved automatically, cleaning and organizing, but her eyes remained fixed on those numbers. Something was bothering her, a nagging feeling that started in her chest and worked its way up to her throat. The calculations looked wrong. Not the situation, that was clearly a disaster, but the actual mathematics. "What about bankruptcy protection?" asked Jennifer Walsh, the head of legal. "Chapter 11 could give us time to restructure and destroy our reputation forever." Victoria's laugh was bitter. 23 years I've built this company. 23 years of fighting for respect in an industry that still sees women as secretaries, not CEOs. I won't go down as the woman who couldn't handle the pressure. The pain in Victoria's voice made Sarah's heart ache. She recognized that feeling, the weight of expectations, the fear of failure, the loneliness of carrying responsibilities that seemed too heavy for one person's shoulders. "Ma'am," Robert continued, "we've run these numbers 17 times. Every scenario ends the same way. Unless we can reduce our liability by at least $800 million, we're done. And there's no legal way to do that." Sarah froze. 800 million. She looked at the board again, her mathematical training kicking into high gear. Her eyes traced the calculations, following the logic, checking the arithmetic. And there it was, so subtle that even experienced financial analysts had missed it. A decimal point. One tiny decimal point in the wrong place. The Meridian liability wasn't $1.2 billion. According to these calculations, if you corrected the error, it was closer to $400 million. Still devastating, but survivable. The company could weather a $400 million loss. It might require layoffs, restructuring, maybe selling some assets, but Sterling Financial would live to fight another day. Sarah's heart raced. Should she speak up? Could she speak up? She was just the cleaning lady. These were Harvard-educated financial experts. Who was she to question their mathematics? But 800 jobs were on the line. Families depended on this company. And Sarah Martinez, despite her humble uniform, was still a mathematician. Sarah's hands trembled as she reached for the eraser on the whiteboard tray. The room fell silent. Behind her, she could feel 8 pairs of eyes watching her every movement. Her heart hammered against her ribs like a caged bird, desperate for freedom. "Excuse me," she whispered, barely audible. Then, clearing her throat, she spoke louder. "Excuse me, but I think there might be an error in your calculations." The silence that followed was deafening. Victoria Sterling's eyebrows shot up in surprise, while Robert Mitchell's mouth actually fell open for a moment. Nobody moved. Then Victoria's voice cut through the tension like broken glass. "I'm sorry, what did you just say?" Sarah turned around slowly, still holding the eraser. Every instinct screamed at her to apologize, to go back to her cleaning, to disappear into the background where she belonged. But those numbers on the board wouldn't let her stay quiet. "The Meridian liability calculation," Sarah said, her voice growing stronger with each word. "Line 7, third column. The decimal point is in the wrong place. You've calculated the exposure as 1.2 billion, but based on these figures, it should be 400 million. The executives exchanged glances. Jennifer Walsh actually laughed, a short, nervous sound. Listen, miss, we appreciate your concern, but these calculations have been verified by our entire financial team. I understand, Sarah replied, stepping closer to the board. But look here. She pointed to a complex formula near the center. You've multiplied the derivative exposure by the total portfolio value, but you've shifted the decimal when converting from basis points to percentages. The actual liability is 66.7% of what you think it is. Victoria Sterling stood up slowly, her steel-gray eyes fixed on Sarah with laser intensity. And you know this how? Sarah swallowed hard. This was it. The moment that would either validate years of hidden dreams or confirm her place as just another invisible worker. I have a degree in applied mathematics from Brooklyn College. Graduated summa cum laude. I've been working nights here for 3 years and I noticed things. The room erupted in whispers. Robert Mitchell was already moving toward the board, grabbing a calculator from the table. Victoria held up her hand for silence, never taking her eyes off Sarah. Show me, Victoria commanded. Victoria Sterling stood up abruptly, startling everyone in the room. When she spoke, her voice carried the authority that had built an empire. Sarah Martinez, how would you like to stop imagining? I'm offering you a position, Victoria announced, her words cutting through the morning air like a declaration of war against convention. Senior financial analyst reporting directly to Robert. Starting salary, $120,000, full benefits, immediate start. Sarah's world tilted on its axis. The marker slipped from her fingers and clattered to the floor, the sound echoing in the stunned silence. What? You heard me correctly. We need people who can see what others miss. You've just proven you're exactly that kind of person. Victoria's smile was sharp and decisive. The question is, are you ready to stop emptying trash cans and start preventing disasters? Robert Mitchell cleared his throat. Victoria, with all due respect, this is highly irregular. We have procedures for hiring, background checks, interviews. Robert, Victoria's voice carried a warning edge. This woman just saved our company. I think we can fast-track the paperwork. Sarah's mind reeled. 6 hours ago, she'd been worried about making her mother's rent payment. Now she was being offered a salary that would change everything. Not just for her, but for her mother. For their future. For dreams she'd thought were dead and buried. I accept, she whispered. Then, louder. I accept. Victoria nodded approvingly. Excellent. First order of business. I want you to review every major calculation we've made in the past 6 months. If there are other errors like tonight's, I need to know about them immediately. What about my cleaning job? Sarah asked, suddenly practical. I can't just abandon my responsibilities. Jennifer Walsh laughed. Sarah, you're about to make more in a month than most people make in a year. I think we can hire a replacement. The reality began sinking in. Sarah looked around the room at these executives, her colleagues now, and felt a mixture of terror and exhilaration that threatened to overwhelm her. There's one condition, Victoria added, her tone softening slightly. I want you to tell your story. We're going to announce this promotion company-wide, and I want everyone to understand that talent can come from anywhere. Your journey from the cleaning crew to the executive team. That's the message I want to send. Sarah nodded, thinking about all the other invisible workers in this building. The security guards with law degrees, the cafeteria workers with business experience, the maintenance staff with hidden talents that nobody bothered to discover. What if there are others? Sarah asked. Other people like me, working jobs that don't match their abilities. Victoria Sterling's smile was predatory in the best possible way. Then we're going to find them. Because if tonight taught me anything, it's that genius doesn't always wear a suit. The sun was rising over Manhattan, painting the sky in brilliant gold. And for the first time in years, Sarah Martinez felt like she was exactly where she belonged. 6 months later, the transformation was complete. Sarah Martinez sat in her corner office on the 38th floor, reviewing quarterly projections with the confidence of someone who'd found her true calling. The gray polo and blue apron had been replaced by professional blazers, and the respect of colleagues who valued her insights above all else. Her mother had retired from the diner and moved to a beautiful apartment in Queens. The medical debt was paid off. But more importantly, Sarah had discovered something she'd never expected. She wasn't alone. Victoria's company-wide talent search had uncovered remarkable stories. Marcus, the night security guard, held an MBA and now headed their small business lending division. Carmen, from the cafeteria, had a background in international finance and revolutionized their overseas operations. David from maintenance turned out to be a coding genius who streamlined their entire data management system. Sterling Financial hadn't just survived the Meridian crisis. They'd thrived. The company's new philosophy of recognizing talent everywhere had attracted top-tier clients and innovative partnerships. They were featured on magazine covers as the company that looks beyond the resume. But for Sarah, the greatest victory was simpler. Every morning when she walked through those marble halls, she saw possibility everywhere. In every janitor, every security guard, every person society had taught to be invisible. Because sometimes, the person who can save everything is the one you never thought to notice. What an incredible journey, right? Sarah's story reminds us that talent exists everywhere. We just need to open our eyes to see it. Have you ever been overlooked because of your job title or circumstances? Or maybe you've witnessed someone's hidden potential being ignored? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. It really helps our channel grow. And don't forget to tell me where you're watching from. Are you joining us from New York like Sarah, or somewhere else entirely? Until next time, remember, never underestimate the power of paying attention to the people around you. You never know who might change your life.